This is one of my favorite rooms in the house because it is my preservation pantry. But it also shows the depths of my procrastination because it's a mess. So what we are going to do today is get all of this mess organized and up on the shelves. And then I am going to give you a tour of everything that we grew, harvested, and preserved this year. So I have a little bit of work to do. Let's get started. All right, I've mostly gotten all of the shelves done, so we will go through those. I put all of my empty boxes away here. At some point, I'm gonna need to organize them a little bit better so I can put empty jars in them as they are being emptied. But for right now, it's fine. Crazy enough, last year, my pumpkin harvest was pretty good. And, well, wait, just one second. I didn't end up doing anything with them. And so that's the remnants of many of them. Basically, they just desiccated. They're like hard as rocks and dry, which is great. But two of them actually are still okay, I think. These white guys, which I think are Valenciano, they've got all of these. This on? Okay. So as my editing self discovered, I did my entire pantry tour yesterday with no audio. So now we have audio. Let's try this again. All right, so this is my pantry and it is all done and organized now, looking beautiful. These shelves are all completely full, which is fantastic. And I did just want to kind of talk about where this is in our house. So this is actually our mechanical room. So we have our hot water heaters, our water treatment. I think that guy over there is a pressure tank, I think. But anyway, furnace, blah, blah, blah. And it is underneath our stairs, as you can see. So this space was kind of not very useful. It was being used as storage, but it's super narrow. So I asked David, I said, I need a canning pantry. And I said, can you build me shelves? And he did. I then painted the fronts of them with chalkboard paint. So as you saw, I can just erase and rewrite things as I move things around. And I should mention that you didn't see this in the organization part because there's only so much you want to watch of me moving jars around, but I completely rearranged these shelves, at least big portions of them, about 3 times. So some of these jars, not only did I touch them once, but I touched them 3 or 4 times. But I wanted to get things all, together, all of the tomato products on 2 shelves next to each other instead of spaced out, that sort of thing. So it was worth it to put the effort in. All right, we are going to start here with our freeze-dried stuff, mostly freeze-dried stuff. So if you guys have any suggestions for a better way to organize these, I am all ears because, they're kind of stacked. These shelves are fairly deep And so while, yes, there are a couple of apple pie fillings, there are also apricots back there, which I'm never going to remember. And there's like cranberries back there. I have already forgotten if that's all peaches. I think it is, but you get my point. I would have to dig through them to know what is there. So anyway, if you have a better idea for how to do this so you can actually see all the labels, that'd be amazing. All right, so this, like I said, fruit pretty much all on this shelf here. This is kind of just some supplies, my juicer, random stuff. And then the next shelf down, we have all of our parsley, cilantro, and basil, of which I have a lot. In fact, I have a whole other box of freeze-dried parsley. Actually, I have 5 bags here. So yeah, I have herbs for a long time. But then I also have some tomatillos here. I think I have some peppers and celery maybe back there. And then this shelf has more, actually back here, I have some freeze-dried goat's milk and chicken broth. The goat's milk was actually kind of fun. I don't have goats and I will not have goats, but a friend of mine does, and they do not have a freeze dryer. So we did a little bit of a trade where I freeze dried a bunch of their milk for them and she gave me half of it. And then otherwise on this shelf, I have got some zucchini, cucumber, and then just some kind of other random things here. On these 2 shelves, I actually have, both of these boxes are hard apple cider, I think from 2020. And so it really needs to get drunk. Hard apple cider is not something that you typically age. And then this one is from 2024. And this one is kind of fun because I did something different. Typically when you are fermenting beer or wine or apples or anything that you're going to drink, you don't use the wild yeast. You kill off the yeast that is just naturally on everything and you add your own yeast, because wild yeast can sometimes give an off flavor to your fermented beverages that you wouldn't want to drink. So I haven't tried it yet. I think I'm going to bring this upstairs and give it a try and see if it worked or if I need to turn this into vinegar. And speaking of vinegar, I also have 5 half-gallon jars of apple cider vinegar, which is true apple cider vinegar made from apple cider, not apple scraps. So I keep forgetting that that's down here and I should use it. Since we are down here, we'll just stay down here. So back here, I have got some pickled beets there and peaches here. Again, I just keep forgetting that I have these here. I really should eat them. They look amazing. Then if we flip around, this is all a whole bunch of pickled peppers. All of these things, in fact, the beets were done, I think in 2022. These were done in 23. These were done in 23. So none of this stuff is from this year's garden, but these are all our pickled peppers. This was kind of my take on Mama Lil's peppers, if you've ever had those. It's actually a pretty close approximation. The problem I have with any of these pickled peppers, in fact, I did do banana peppers this year. I got enough to pickle, I think it was a quart, but I did them as refrigerator pickles because when you can them, you have to heat them and they kind of end up with a mushy texture, which isn't our favorite. So we'll still eat them. They're really tasty. They're just like probably mostly on pizzas and stuff like that, not so much on sandwiches, which is where we really like to use these kinds of peppers. Okay, we're just going to go up from this bottom shelf while we're back here. These are all, they're all different kinds of hot sauces. We have fish pepper, which is kind of a Creole type hot sauce. Yes, it's an actual fish pepper. That's the name of the pepper. And serrano, and then we have some of my Sugar Rush peach pepper hot sauce, a couple different versions of that. And we have some chicken soup, and this was a fun one that I did kind of late last year. It's a Sloppy Joe mix, and it's a really wonderful way to use up tomatoes, peppers, and onions, which I had a lot of last year. And then up here, we have all of our chicken stock and beef stock. We have a ton of chicken stock and just 4 beef stock, but we don't use beef stock very often, so that's not a big deal. As we continue down this aisle, we have HP sauce here. It's David's favorite steak sauce. In fact, it's mine too. But it's pretty hard to find here, especially in Southeast Idaho. So I have found a recipe that we really like, so I make that. And then I have some mincemeat from, this is actually 2020. I know that that seems old, and it is old, and probably the flavor has diminished somewhat, although mincemeat has very strong flavor, so it's probably fine. But one of the good things about doing a pantry reorganization stock up like this is I literally touched every single one of these jars. So I know that their seals are still good, and that's really what matters. As long as it's sealed, it's still safe to consume. Whether you do want to consume it or not, because of, like I said, flavor does disintegrate. So certain things you wouldn't want to have on your shelf for 5 years. But I think we're okay with this one. And let's see, I've got some cranberry orange sauce, which is just nice to have pre-made. We don't eat it a ton, but it's nice to have it on the shelf. And then this was one of the other experiments I did last year, which is this faux pineapple, which is made with zucchini. And yeah, we didn't like it. In fact, we didn't like it at all. It still tasted far too much like zucchini for us. And the texture is actually pretty close, but it just, yeah, it's not for us. And I was actually, as I was going through them, I was like, oh, I should just give this to the chickens. But then I remembered, I think one of you guys mentioned that I should use it just in recipes where like it gets ground up. So I could totally use it in carrot cake. And then I have some sweet and sour sauce that I only have 1 jar of that we really like a lot. And I have a whole bunch of tomatoes left in the freezer that still have to have something done with them. So I'm going to make that, and I could absolutely use this in substitute for the crushed pineapple that that recipe calls for. All right, and then here we have a whole bunch of applesauce, which I'm really the only one that eats it. So I just need to start eating it. And over here we have a bunch of relishes. So these are some corn relish here, and then a dill relish and some sweet relish back here. And on the bottom shelf here is all of our pickles. These are our dill pickles. These are from 2022, and they are starting to lose their, not flavor so much as their texture isn't as great. The bread and butter pickles are still doing well. These are actually from 2024, so they're pretty new. And then these were fun. These are watermelon rind pickles, and Mom actually made them for me. It's a recipe that she's made for years and years, but it is made from my watermelon rinds that I grew, which was very fun. I've never managed to grow watermelons successfully. So this was, I think, just from one single watermelon, all 4 jars. And then down here we have, I did try a new bruschetta recipe this year. The last one I tried had a lot of, balsamic vinegar in it. And we really didn't like it all that much. So I actually made a large quantity of it because our son and his girlfriend really like it. So I gave most of it to them, but I do want to try it and see if we like it. This was another one of my experiments this year, which are pickled cherry tomatoes. And they look really pretty. Haven't tried them yet, but I'm excited to. And then last but not least, we have our cowboy candy. Typically this is made with jalapenos, but I actually had a lot more serranos than jalapenos this year. So I'm hoping because of that, this will be a lot spicier than the stuff that I made last year was. It was good, but it just wasn't very spicy. And then I just save the brine from that and can it separately to use for like marinating things. It's great for that. And then back here we have our potatoes, which are starting to sprout. So I really need to come in here and pull all those off. They are still fairly firm. A couple of them are starting to get a little wrinkly. These are my Huckleberry Golds, and they definitely are storing much better than the reds did. I used the last of my red potatoes for Christmas dinner, actually. And they were very sprouty and getting wrinkly, but they were still completely fine to eat. So we did eat all of those, which is amazing. All right, now the big guns. All of our tomato products are on these two shelves, which goes all the way down to the end and then starts up right there again and comes all the way over here. So these guys are all marinara sauce that I did this year from this year's tomatoes and basil and everything. And I did them in 8-ounce jars because it's just David and I, and most of the time we can't eat a full jar. Like if we did a full pint jar, that's what I used to can them in. But if we open one for like just a quick pasta dinner, we end up throwing half of it away because it sits in our fridge because we don't use it. So these are just so much, I think will be much better for us because we can always grab 2 of them if we do need extra. But we will definitely go through all of this. I know it seems like a lot, but we eat a lot of pasta, do a lot of pizza. I use them interchangeably for pizza sauce or pasta sauce. And then last year, I had a bunch of extra tomatoes. So I, actually, no, this was in March of last year. So this was 2022's tomatoes that I made this out of. Again, I just had a bunch of tomatoes in the freezer, needed to do something with, so made this Bloody Mary mix, which is delicious. And then on the upper shelf of the tomato products, I do have a couple of my crushed tomatoes from 2023. I didn't can any like crushed tomatoes or tomato sauce or marinara sauce actually in 2024. So the 2023 stuff basically lasted us 2 years. But we were definitely running low. I think I only have 3 jars of the crushed tomatoes. I do have more of the quartered tomatoes here and tomato sauce here from 2023, but we'll probably go through the rest of that this year. But then I just did a whole bunch of crushed tomatoes in pints. And the reason I did just crushed tomatoes is that, first of all, it's so much easier than doing quartered tomatoes or tomato sauce because you don't have to, for the tomato sauce, it has to go through a food mill. And for the quartered tomatoes, you have to peel them and quarter them. So it's a lot more work. You do still have to peel the crushed tomatoes, but I don't know, it's just so much easier and you can make sauce out of this or whatever. The quartered tomatoes, we almost always end up blending them anyway for whatever we're making. So it's not worth the effort to do that. And then down here, this is also from 2023, late 2023. So a bunch of ketchup. This was the enchilada sauce I did in 2023. And I really like this recipe. It's one that we've used for many years, but I did try a new one this year and it is delicious. So I made quite a bit of that. And then we've got some barbecue sauce and, like I mentioned, my 1 jar left of sweet and sour and some Asian plum sauce, which is so, so good. All right, this is where one of the areas I probably went a little overboard this year. And that is my peach products. Peach and nectarine. I just got way too many of all of them, but they were so amazing, I couldn't help myself. So I did make some amazing things with them, which I'm excited to eat this year. So actually the peach ale mustard is from, as you can see, 2024, but I made this zesty peach barbecue sauce, which so good, so good. And this peach salsa, which is pretty spicy and also just has that perfect, as you can see, I made some in 2024 as well, and we liked it, so I made a bunch more. And then I made a bunch of peach jams, which we will get to, peach and nectarine. I did have just enough tomatillos to get, did I get 4? Yeah, I got 4 jars of salsa verde. And then I did have a few jars left from actually 2023 and 2024. And then we have some just regular red salsa here. Then this section here are what I'm calling my savory jams. So this is a tomato jam, which, yes, indeed, 2019. But I just opened a jar of this not too long ago, and it still tastes amazing. So it's great. And then this was one of the other ones I did this year, a spicy peach rosemary jam. So I know that that sounds weird and not very tasty, but it's actually really good. And I didn't make much of it because it did sound like rosemary can be so overwhelming, but you don't really leave most of the rosemary in. You just kind of let it cook with the rosemary and then you take it out. So it's not overwhelming. It's just a beautiful hint of it. And we used it on chicken wings not too long ago as like a wing sauce. Oh, so good. Just added some vinegar. Yum. And then I also have some strawberry jalapeno and just one more jar of this. I didn't really like this, so I didn't want to make more of it. And then I have a couple of jars of raspberry jalapeno jam, which also were from my garden this year. I just need to label them, so they're not there yet. And then this is my other problem child here. These are all jams. Now, we don't eat a lot of jam. I love jam. I absolutely love it, but David's not a huge fan. He likes marmalade, but for the most part, he doesn't really eat a lot of jam. But I just can't help myself. I love making jam, and like I said, I do love it, but I can't eat enough of it by myself. I don't want to. That's how by the way, this is how I turned off my sound. I somehow hit the mute button on my mic and didn't realize it. So try not to touch the mic. Anyway, jam. I have a lot of jam. So most of this is from years past. I have a whole lot of apple butter, cranberry apple butter. I do have some marmalade, and these are just various berries, blackberry, cherry, that sort of thing. And then up here we have, so these are from a couple years ago, clearly, but I didn't do any just plain peach jam this year. I did do some more apricot jam, which I also love. And then I did a lot of nectarine jam. I do have a video with making this because we don't have nectarines anywhere near us, I don't think. And peaches we do, but not nectarines. But Costco, I was in Costco and I was walking by the produce section and the nectarines smelled so good. So I got 7 boxes of them. The jam is delicious. And then the other fun ones that we made this year is this carrot cake jam. And it tastes like carrot cake. I think the only change I would probably make is I would probably add raisins to it. It's good and I like it, but I think I would like it better if it had raisins. On the other hand, this zucchini bread jam, again, tastes just like you're eating zucchini bread, and it is so, so good. I love this stuff. I could eat it with a spoon. It's that good. Then last but not least, we have a bunch of my herbs. Kind of just, I also have some like freeze-dried mango and cherries and some tea stuff, so strawberry leaves and raspberry leaves. I've got lavender and rose petals. So these are kind of more for like tea type things. But then I have more basil here. So this is some of that purple basil, lemon basil, a whole lot of calendula and chamomile. I have 2 half-gallon jars of chamomile. This is from 2024, but yeah, I have a lot of chamomile. And I have a whole lot of dill, some lemon balm, mint. We have oregano here, which I have some in Mylar bags as well. And then we've got rosemary and sage. So these are just herbs that we don't use quite as often. The oregano we do, but the rosemary and sage, not quite as often. So I just don't keep as much of it, which is good because it also doesn't grow quite as well. The sage does. The sage grows prolifically here, but not the rosemary because it's not perennial here. And last but not least, we have kind of my dry storage, I guess you could say. So this is got all of my empty jar boxes, empty jars, all my 500 million jar rings. I have the stuff for doing my fermenting for cider. David sometimes makes beer and wine. And then I do have our garlic from this year. This is my Vietnamese red. So this is it's a hardneck, and hardneck typically doesn't store quite as well as softneck garlic, but this is supposed to be a longer storing one, and it does seem to be holding up much better. I also grew some music garlic, which is another hardneck, and it is not holding out as well. So this is doing better, but it's kind of a pain to peel. So I did grow some again this year, but I don't know. We'll see. I also grew a couple of other supposedly longer storing hardnecks. Hardnecks just grow better here. You can see that's my pitifully poor amount of soft nectar that I got, which is in Chellium Red. It just doesn't grow as well here because it's cold. And softneck stores longer, unfortunately. But anyway, so we'll see how this goes. They might start getting easier to peel as they are aging. We'll see. Then the last thing I want to show you, like I said, this is our mechanical room, but I also have my dehydrator and freeze dryer in here. And I have a little work table here that I use when I am taking things in and out of the freeze dryer. And we also have our two main freezers, our big freezers down here. This one holds all of our meat products. So we order a lot of our meat from ButcherBox. So, and we should have skipped our last order and we didn't. So we're a little overstocked at the moment. I do have some like fruits and stuff in here as well, just because they didn't fit anywhere else. But for the most part, it is all different kinds of meat. Oh, these are actually marinated meats, which I should probably grab one for dinner tonight. I think I will do that. Greek chicken. And then this freezer kind of has everything else. So it has all of our vegetables that are frozen from the garden, stuff that I didn't can. And then we also have more of our prepared meals in here that are just kind of easy grab and go type things. I forgot to mention that these guys are also from last year. They're just a combination of chili diarbos and some yellow and red cayenne peppers. Just kind of randomly using them here and there. Oh, I do have a bunch of paprikas down here as well, which I really should take upstairs and grind. Anyway, they're just from last year. My peppers did not do well this year. So I did just want to talk about one other thing really quick. You will start seeing kind of in this area of content that a lot of people are going to start talking and doing the Three Rivers Pantry Challenge. And what that is basically you are trying to use only the things that you currently have in your house and freezers and pantries for all of your meals. There's no actual rules. It's more just an idea of you're trying to use up things that are in your house and not go to the store. So some people give themselves a small budget for, milk, dairy products, and fresh fruits and vegetables, but that's the only thing that they buy during this time. Some people do it for a week. Some people do it up to 2 months. It just kind of depends what you're feeling. And, we obviously could do that. And quite frankly, I don't go to the store very often. I'm the one that does all the grocery shopping. I go to Costco maybe once every other month, every 2 months to stock up on my dairy products for the most part, and like flour and that sort of thing. And then fruits and vegetables, I do go to the main grocery store for that, but I don't go very often. So for the most part, we do eat off of our pantry and freezer. And I know that this probably looks like a lot of food for 2 people, and it is a lot of food, but like I said, we will go through all of that marinara sauce this year. And for the most part, what I can is the stuff that we eat a lot of and grow. So like all of that garlic, it's a lot of garlic. I have a whole lot of onions as well. But we'll probably go through the majority of that before they come around next season. So we try to eat out of our pantry a lot. However, my husband, David, is retired and I am not. I work full time still. And so he does all of our cooking during the week. And he's gotten pretty good at it, actually. And especially the fact that he does use our pantry and freezers now. That's not something that he was used to doing in the past. You know, he was kind of a ramen and boxed mac and cheese kind of guy. But so he's gotten pretty good at cooking, and he's fine with doing it. It's not his favorite thing, but definitely the part of having to plan meals and think of what he's going to make, he hates that part. So telling him that not only does he have to do all of that, but he also can't go, I'm not going to go to the store at all, and he can't like just buy things. I'm not going to do that to the poor guy. So that's why we don't participate in the pantry challenge. But it is a great idea, and if it's something that you guys can do, I highly recommend it. Like I said, there's no hard and fast rules. You can make it however you want to do it, but I think it is worth the effort to try and see, you know, go through your main pantry, the stuff that doesn't have to be all home canned. I bet you're going to find some stuff that's expired or very close to expiring that you wouldn't know about if you weren't forced to use the things in your pantry. So recommend it if you can do it. If you can't, it's okay. We don't either. Like I said in the beginning, this is one of my favorite rooms in the house. I love opening the door and turning on the light, seeing all of these beautiful jars sitting on the shelves, knowing that most of it came from our garden. It's just so satisfying and makes my heart happy and full. So thank you so much for coming along with me, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.